Greg Ehrenberg here with another PrizePicks video for Awesemo.com, and boy am I excited for today because we're actually talking about real football games. We've covered a lot of the preseason action. Today, though, we're going to be looking at NFL Week 1, more specifically the opening night game between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. If you guys want action on this game, head on over to PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code Awesemo to get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the fantasy scoring over at PrizePicks.com, it is a full point PPR bonus here. So we're looking at 0.04 points per passing yard, 4 points for a passing touchdown, 6 points for receiving or a rushing touchdown, 0.1 points for every rushing or receiving yard. And it's also going to be, like I said before, a full point PPR. So for every reception, that is going to be worth 1 fantasy point. The first player I'm looking at here is Ezekiel Elliott for under 16.2 fantasy points. Now, Zeke had a massively disappointing fantasy season last year, and a lot of that can be attributed to the injury to Dak Prescott. At least at the start of the season, Zeke was playing fairly well when Prescott got hurt, and the offense kind of just went into a tailspin after Prescott got injured. Prescott's going to be back. The Cowboys offense should be better. But with that said, there are a little bit of concerns that I have with Zeke this year. Mostly, Tony Pollard played pretty well last year, and there's a case to be made that Pollard was better than Zeke during a lot of last year. And with that in mind, I don't know that Zeke is going to be the bell cow back that we've seen in previous years. So our projections over on Awesemo.com for Week 1, we have Elliott going well under his current PrizePicks projection. We have Zeke only project for 14.29 fantasy points on opening night. And I think that combined with just some of the workload concerns of Tony Pollard in the mix, that's enough for me to side with the under here with Elliott. The next player I'm looking at here is Ronald Jones for over 8 fantasy points. And the logic here is pretty simple. The Bucs in the offseason, they did try to bolster their depth at running back by adding Giovanni Bernard, but he got hurt in the preseason. He's not expected to play in Week 1. And as long as that is going to be the case, that means more of a role for Ronald Jones in the offense. Down the stretch of last year, and particularly in the playoffs, we saw Ronald Jones really become the guy in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers backfield. Some of these playoff games against the Kansas City Chiefs, he rushed for 61 yards. Against the Packers, he rushed for only 16 yards, but he did get 10 carries, 62 rushing yards against the Saints. So I think we're looking at Ronald Jones as, at least to open the season, somebody who should get a lot of the work in the backfield. That's subject to change in the future when Giovanni Bernard gets back from injury, but at least for now, with Bernard not expected to play, Ronald Jones is going to be the guy for Tampa Bay. The final player I'm looking at here is Chris Godwin for over 15.5 fantasy points. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense is totally loaded, and there are a lot of options for Tom Brady to go to at receiver. Obviously, Chris Godwin, because I mentioned him here, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown's in the mix, Rob Gronkowski also. But even with that in mind, we saw in the playoffs with a fully healthy Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, we still got a lot of targets going to Chris Godwin. So Tom Brady seemed to be focusing in on him. So in the playoffs, we saw target shares 4, 9, 7, 12. He's somebody who got a lot of looks from Brady, and I expect that to be the case so far this year also. We currently have Godwin projected for a little bit over 16 fantasy points. It's the 15.5 number. It's a little low. It's not crazy low. I feel a little bit more confident in the first 2 plays I gave out, but still, I lean towards the over here for Chris Godwin. So the 3 plays that I'm looking at for the opening night of the NFL season, it is Ezekiel Elliott under 16.2 fantasy points, Ronald Jones over 8 fantasy points, and then Chris Godwin over 15.5. Don't forget, over at PrizePicks, they are using full PPR scoring. Also, don't forget, if you're making your first deposit, use the promo code Awesemo and get up to a $100 bonus on that first deposit. If you're looking to build some prop cards over at PrizePicks.com, there's a couple of different ways you could do it. First, there's something called the flex play, where you don't have to get all 3 of the picks that we gave out here. You only have to go 2 out of 3. If you get 2 out of those 3, you get a return of 1.25x your entry fee. However, if you get all 3 of them right, you still do get a 2.25x payout. So there is still a little more upside for going 3 out of 3. But if you're super confident that all 3 of these plays are going to hit, you're going to want to use the power play. You go 3 for 3 and you will get 5x your return. But also, most importantly, use that promo code Awesemo, get up to a $100 bonus on the first deposit when you're playing at PrizePicks for the first time.